In the autumn of 1888, a series of deeply troubling incidents occurred in the Whitechapel district of East London. The city had never seen anything quite like it. 5 women lost their lives in a manner that shocked not only London, but the entire world. The individual responsible was never identified. The case was never officially resolved, and the name that person gave themselves in a series of letters sent to the authorities has endured for more than 130 years. Jack the Ripper. Every detail in this documentary is sourced from official Metropolitan Police investigation records, historical archives, and verified academic research. This is the full story of the Whitechapel case of 1888. To understand the events of 1888, we must first understand the world in which they occurred. Whitechapel was one of the most densely populated and economically deprived areas of Victorian London. According to historical records from the period, poverty in the district was extreme. Thousands of people lived in severely overcrowded conditions, with little access to sanitation, employment, or basic services. The streets of Whitechapel were narrow, poorly lit, and largely ungoverned after dark. According to census records from the 1880s, the area had one of the highest rates of destitution in the entire city. Women in the district who found themselves without income or shelter frequently had no reliable means of support. Many were forced to seek whatever work was available simply to afford a place to sleep for the night. The Metropolitan Police force responsible for the area was understaffed and under-resourced. According to historical accounts, the relationship between local residents and the police was often strained. It was into this environment that the events of the autumn of 1888 unfolded, and it was in this environment that the individual known as Jack the Ripper operated entirely undetected. Historians and researchers generally agree on 5 cases that are considered the definitive incidents attributed to Jack the Ripper. These 5 cases are collectively referred to as the Canonical 5. The first incident occurred on August 31 Street, 1888. A woman named Marian Nichols was found on Buck Row in Whitechapel in the early hours of the morning. She was 43 years old. According to the official forensic examination, she had encountered the individual who would become known as Jack the Ripper. The second incident occurred just over a week later, on September 8, 1888. A woman named Annie Chapman was found in the rear yard of a property on Hanbury Street. She was 47 years old. According to investigators, the circumstances of her case shared significant similarities with the first incident. The third and fourth incidents occurred on the same night, September 30, 1888. This date became known to researchers as the double event. Elizabeth Stride, aged 45, was found on Burner Street. Catherine Ed Dowse, aged 46, was found less than an hour later in Mitri Square. According to historical accounts, the fact that 2 incidents occurred on the same evening caused considerable alarm among both the public and the authorities. The fifth and final canonical case occurred on November 9, 1888. A woman named Mary Jane Kelly was found at her residence on Dorset Street. She was 25 years old, the youngest of the 5 individuals. According to the official records, this was the most extensively documented of all 5 cases. Following this incident, the series of events attributed to Jack the Ripper appeared to cease. No further cases matching the established pattern were recorded after November 1888. The Metropolitan Police launched a substantial investigation following the first incidents in the summer and autumn of 1888. According to historical records, hundreds of individuals were questioned in connection with the cases. The investigation involved officers from multiple police divisions and drew the attention of senior officials within the British government. During the course of the investigation, the police received a large volume of correspondence from members of the public. Among this correspondence were several letters that claimed to be written by the individual responsible. The majority of these letters were assessed by investigators to be hoaxes. However, 3 communications in particular have been studied extensively by researchers over the decades. The first was a letter received by the Central News Agency on September 27, 1888. According to the text of the letter, The writer claimed responsibility for the incidents and indicated that further cases would follow. The letter was signed with the name Jack the Ripper, the first recorded use of that name. The second communication was a postcard received on October 1, 1888. It referenced the double event of September 30th in terms that investigators noted could indicate knowledge of events before they became public. The third communication, known as the From Hell letter, was received by a member of a citizen watch group on October 16, 1888. According to researchers who have studied the handwriting and language of these three communications, their authenticity remains debated. Some investigators have concluded that at least one of the three was genuine. Others have maintained that all three were fabrications by members of the public or the press. The true authorship of the Jack the Ripper correspondence has never been confirmed. Over the course of more than 130 years, researchers and historians have proposed dozens of individuals as possible suspects in the Whitechapel cases. The Metropolitan Police investigation identified several persons of interest during the original inquiry. Among the names that have been most extensively discussed in academic and investigative literature is that of Aaron Kosminski. Kosminski was a Polish-born resident of Whitechapel who was known to police during the relevant period. According to notes made by senior police officials at the time, Kosminski was considered a strong suspect by at least one senior investigator. In 2014, a researcher claimed to have identified DNA evidence on a preserved item from one of the cases that matched a descendant of Kosminski. However, this claim was subsequently disputed by other researchers on methodological grounds. No DNA evidence in the Whitechapel cases has been universally accepted by the academic community. A second frequently discussed suspect is Montague John Drute, a barrister whose body was recovered from the River Thames in December 1888. According to historical records, at least one senior police official believed Drute to be the most likely suspect. However, no direct physical evidence connecting Drute to the cases has ever been publicly confirmed. A third name that appears frequently in Ripper research is that of Francis Tumblety, an American physician who was in London during the relevant period. According to historical records, Tumblety was arrested in London in November 1888 on unrelated charges and subsequently fled to the United States. Researchers have noted that the incident ceased following his departure. As with the other proposed suspects, no conclusive physical evidence connecting Tumblety to the cases has ever been established. The Metropolitan Police investigation was officially wound down in the early 1890s without a confirmed identification being made. The Jack the Ripper case has generated more academic research, more published books, and more documentary investigation than almost any other unresolved case in history. According to estimates from researchers in the field, more than 100 individuals have been proposed as suspects over the past century. The case presents unique challenges to investigators, primarily the passage of time and the limitations of forensic science in the Victorian era. Evidence that would be routinely collected and analyzed today was either not gathered or not preserved in 1888. According to forensic historians who have reviewed the case, the original investigation, while thorough by the standards of its time, left significant gaps. The identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of the most debated questions in the history of criminal investigation. In recent years, advances in genealogical DNA research have led some researchers to propose new lines of investigation. However, as of the time of this documentary, no identification has been officially confirmed. The case remains open in the historical record. What is not debated is the human cost of the autumn of 1888. 5 women lost their lives in the streets of Whitechapel. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Dowse, Mary Jane Kelly. Each of them had a life, a history, and a name. They deserve to be remembered as people, not merely as footnotes in the story of the individual who took their lives. The streets of Whitechapel where these events occurred still exist today, and the question of who walked those streets in the autumn of 1888 remains, more than 130 years later, unanswered. Thank you for watching Darkfulous Cases. If you found this documentary informative, please consider subscribing. New cases are uploaded every week. In the comments below, who do you think Jack the Ripper really was? The Whitechapel district of East London still exists today, and the streets where these events unfolded can still be walked. Every year, thousands of visitors from around the world come to Whitechapel to follow the path of one of history's most enduring mysteries.